is my voice, it's my story. The camera is also my voice. The creative This Is My Voice is a platform for those who are rarely heard. It began earlier this year, and I had one of those wouldn't it be good if moments. You know, the ones that occupy every waking hour. There's next 6 months of full determination to achieve something because you have this idea. Wouldn't it be good? Well, I had one of those wouldn't it be good if moments. My wouldn't it be good if moment. Wouldn't it be good if I could teach primary school photography? Because I was incredibly frustrated with this kind of imagery. Fundamentally, to me, it's about stealing moments from people more vulnerable than the person behind the camera. They represent a fixing of a person in a particular context, usually largely devoid of human-to-human interaction or engagement. There's nothing wrong with these images. From a technical or artistic point of view, to some they're actually quite beautiful and poignant. But for me, they represent images stolen from individuals that can neither hide away from the public eye or shy away from the lens. And importantly, they actually do not tell the whole truth and narrative around a person's life. People are not defined by the circumstances in which they find themselves. People are more than their job, or their career, or their life situation at any given point. People are not defined by where they sleep, where they live, where they eat. There is so much more to each of us. I think we all can agree with that. From my perspective, there's a rich history and narrative to every person's life. There's a vibrant tapestry of light, dark, of colour and shade. We're all so much more than the circumstances in which we find ourselves. And I wanted to shift the paradigm. I wanted to empower people to tell their story with their voice in their own words. And the only way I felt I could do this, in the context of homelessness, was to create a camera club at Auckland City Mission. Before I talk about that journey, I'd like to go back a little and start at the beginning of my journey. This is a place, when I was much younger, the doorway of which I slept for a number of weeks. I was young, I was homeless, and I slept in that doorway with my twin brother. My parents had died when I was quite young, and that was a very traumatic time in my life, and I found myself on the street. It changed me forever, and made me the person that I am today. And I vowed that day that I could be anyone or anything that I chose to be in life. I would not be defined by the circumstances in which I found myself. I wanted and I deserved more than life offered me at that point. And I vowed I would change everything that came before me. Fast forward quite a few years, more than I care to remember, but I've had a successful career in advertising. Latterly, was Global Director of Strategic Insight for a big agency, crossing myself in time zones as I flew from London to New York and San Francisco to Singapore. And I arrived here in New Zealand for a friend's wedding at the beginning of this year. I was due to fly back on the 12th of January, and as you can see, I'm still here. Something changed. I wanted to take a step to one side. I wanted to breathe. It wasn't so much about finding myself, it was about creating myself, creating a new me. And I fell in love with the country and I decided to stay. And it's interesting as years unfold like maps, with no idea where they'll take us, but it brought me here. So I decided to throw myself into photography and capture this beautiful land. I wanted to listen to that inner creative child that I had, but I'd ignored for so long. My role had involved lots of things. It was about understanding people, digital anthropology, consumer behaviour and psychology. It was really kind of absent of creativity, unless you can really describe it as thinking and strategy. It was creative, but not creative in a typical sense. But as Picasso says, all children are born artists. The trouble and struggle is how to remain an artist as we grow up. So I decided to find that child again, to find that creative spark, and become a photographer. When my oldest daughter, who's now 18, when she was 4, I asked her, what is the greatest nation in the world ever? And she said, imagination. Yeah, imagination. And so, here in New Zealand, I decided to imagine myself as an artist and photographer. I like to put a little bit of pressure on myself when I'm learning these new things, and I'd never picked up a camera before I arrived here. I bought a second-hand digital SLR, thought I'm going to immerse myself into this. To put more pressure on myself, I saw that there was a festival of photography in Auckland. I'm going to be part of that, and if I become part of it, I'll challenge myself to achieve what I set out to do. I was accepted, and being accepted into that, I was incredibly proud. Like, wow, here's an opportunity, a stage for me to kind of extol my photography and my creative endeavours. And I threw myself into this photography lark, getting up at 3:30, 4:30 in the morning, going out, waiting for the right light, capturing every single moment, and I was incredibly happy. But I wanted to share that opportunity. I felt privileged to be given that opportunity, and I wanted to share that opportunity and that platform with other people, for those other people to come on a journey with me. So I decided to create a camera club at Auckland City Mission and approach them with the idea. It was met with some, I guess, scepticism, and I met a bit unsure, like, really? Do you want to teach homeless people photography? And I said, yes. I said, because it's about this democratization of self-expression. It's about empowerment, it's about esteem, it's about people telling their own stories for themselves. So I approached the mission, and they said, well, we have no money. I said, that's fine, we don't need any money. I'll have my time, and I'll fund everything myself, and I'll ask for help. I'll ask people to donate cameras. These full of film, and I'm sure they will. I don't know if they will, but I'll try and give it a go. So we have got some amazing cameras, with the old twin lens reflex rolling cord, old film camera, Canon A1, and a couple of digital SLRs. Not great, one of them didn't work, but it didn't matter. We were off, the journey began. We started to kind of move forward. The next part of the journey was, for me, the most important. And it was when I had the opportunity to meet these 3 amazing, beautiful people. Mel, Shadow, and Rangi, all of which are here today. As I said, this was a journey about empowerment, about esteem and democratization of creativity. It's photography from a pavement up perspective, if you will, from a real person beyond the context in which they find themselves, far too often without defined in those moments. And I wanted them to tell their own story, to take ownership of their own story, and for me to share that with them. I wanted them to have their own story in their own words, with their own language. And I didn't know where we'd get to, I didn't know how it would manifest itself, but I was happy to go along for the ride. And you know, as Pablo Picasso again once said, you know, art washes away the dust from the soul of everyday life. And it was about being really fueled with a view of the world that was different to your everyday life, and being able to see things potentially differently. So, Mel, not defining the context in which I met her, amazing, beautiful poet. Shadow, an incredible musician with a mean harmonica. He's an actor. He's playing in Shakespeare's The Tempest very soon in July. And Rangi, fellow actor and writer, an author. You just saw that, an author, a published author. In 2006, Rangi published a book called Keynote Portrait of a Maori Heart. These people are not defined by the circumstances in which I met them. They're now photographers, they're now artists, just like me. So, we started every Tuesday with our borrowed cameras, donated cameras, walking around Auckland and capturing things. And one of the things that struck me throughout this journey is that it's important to understand that homelessness is a spectrum, and it's been characterised by rough sleeping, but it's not just limited to that. The circumstances do not define those people. And importantly, if Mel, Shadow, and Rangi are stigmatised by the label of homelessness, then so am I. We're no different. We're all connected, and we're all one. So we set about capturing a body of work that was worthy of the Auckland Festival of Photography exhibition. And it was an amazing journey. Now, this is the work that was picked and chosen by Shadow that was exhibited in the first exhibition. We've had 2 exhibitions, and he was amazing. He put me to shame. It was like, if you looked at a book of composition and the rules of composition, he nailed every single thing. It's like, using natural framing to draw the eye into the subject matter, using rule of thirds to split the horizon line. It was, fill the frame. All of these things, intuitively, innately, he got it. And I asked Shadow, do you see the world differently now that you're behind the camera? And he said no. And he was right. He didn't see the world differently. I saw the world differently. I had the privileged opportunity to see the world through his eyes, to viscerally connect with the way he saw the world. He never saw it any differently before or after having the camera. That for me is a privilege and what this is all about. Me being able to connect with 3 beautiful people and see the world as they see it, and to share that experience and creativity. So Mel, the profoundness that shines through her imagery, each image accompanied by beautiful and profound words and poetry. Rangi's a wordsmith. He likes telling a story with every image. In fact, I'd like to ask Rangi to join me on stage, for him to tell his own story and to share his experience. Rangi.
My name is Rangi. I want to talk about 3 aspects at this time. I want to talk about my background, I want to talk about my photographic goals, and I want to talk about something I call my divine design. Now, my life around the last 2 years has been revolving around the Auckland City Mission. When you think of a term like Auckland City Mission, probably the first word that comes into your mind would be destitute. I can tell you my life is far from destitute. I'm on 3 steering committees for the Auckland City Council. 2 of those are concerning historical Hipoi, another one is concerning a brand new shopping centre that we're opening for the homeless community in Auckland in the CBD. I have academic history. I studied at Untech for 5 years. Among other things, I managed to achieve a radio broadcasting certificate. I achieved a bachelor's in communication, and I won Student of the Year in 2009. What I want to do right now is just talk about what my photographic goals are. In life, there's 2 things that we learn about. We learn about angles and we learn about underlying currents. If you go to a beach, you look at the surf and you see a smooth, calm area in the surf, you know that's a lip and it's dangerous, it's holding something underneath. In literature, there are so many characters who come across as smooth and calm, and yet they're holding something underneath that's very dangerous. This is one major goal that I tried to achieve in my photography. I wanted to show something that brought what was beneath to the surface, and I really believe I achieved that with this far right photo at the bottom. You'd be amazed how many people flocked to that. That got sold. So I really felt achieved. And one of the reasons that I did feel achieved was because my history had nothing to do with why I got picked for this. I got picked because of my, I guess you could say, quality. Because I'd come to be known in the City Mission as someone who achieved anyway. So it wasn't all that background at all that got me to where I am now. It's just me, being a driven person with goals. And that's what really makes me happy about being here. And finally, I just want to show you something. This is actually, I don't know if you can see it properly, but this is actually a map I had for a storyline that I showed in my booklet, and this was originally penciled in. I put it in, I finished the drawing and I folded it up and put it in my bag with my other stuff. I was running across Queen Street in the rain. As you do, everything fell out onto the road and the rain soaked it. And I thought, that's the end of that. And I picked it all up and put it back into the bag, and I went home, and a couple of days later I pulled it out and I opened the page and I was blown away, because what had happened is the rain had developed. This is actually a desert scene in the Middle East, and the rain had developed an image of the desert in yellow. And someone called that serendipity, but I prefer to believe it was a higher hand. And if I had my way, I would have had this framed and entered into my portfolio for the exhibition. So all I can do now is explain that for me and Mel and Shadow, we are what we are because we're pioneers, and that's the kind of people we are, regardless of our background. Thank you.
Thank you. So, 2 exhibitions down. Final exhibition closed today. We can't be there, obviously, because we're here. But it's been an amazing journey and continues. We have a documentary planned, which will happen by the end of this year, charting this journey, and a book. And we've got so much more to do. I've never been more proud than to see 3 people I count as friends in a public environment, in an exhibition, engaging with their audience, talking about their art. And it's one of the most amazing, joyful things the learner experienced. I think what's important when you look at all of those images, not one single image represented anything to do with homelessness. It was about inspiration, it was about aspiration, it was about the world seen through 3 individuals' eyes. And that for me was one of the most important things. So it seems to have become this amorphous entity that takes its shape and its drive. This whole project has become bigger and bigger and bigger. And yesterday morning I was presenting to Auckland Creative Mornings, talking about the project to over 100 different people. We had TEDxRuakura, breakfast on 1, coming into the gallery to film, and they're following us next week as we go out shooting around Auckland on Tuesday and Wednesday, and we're going to do a big piece about that. Rangi and I had the pleasure of being on Radio New Zealand a few weeks ago, and I think at some point we're doing some TEDx events in Hamilton, but I'm not quite sure about that. But it's been an amazing journey, and it continues. I wanted to kind of say that you might be forgiven for thinking that the inspiration for creating This Is My Voice was my personal connection to homelessness, but it wasn't. In fact, it was nothing to do with that. It was really about not wanting to be defined forever by the job that I did. I felt my life was lacking, I guess, some spark, creativity, and I wanted to find that voice. In a similar way, I think snap judgments are made of all of us, not just the homeless. We're very quick to define people by labels. We're very quick to put people in boxes, just like it is. We're not defined by our lifestyle or our job. And I think what we need to do is to nurture creativity in schools, in the workplace, in every aspect of life, because it's a fundamental core to every aspect of our being. And creativity should be elevated to the same level of literacy, from my perspective. By boxing each other in simple, superficial definitions, we restrict each other's capability and capacity to be brilliant. We stop allowing ourselves to be amazing, to be whoever we want to be. So, for me, the unbundling and unbridling of conformity leads to unparalleled freedom. We began this journey, all 3 of us, because we didn't know we couldn't. We didn't ask permission, we didn't need permission. We did it because we didn't know we couldn't. And that, for me, is most important. And I'd like to thank, personally, Rangi, Mel, in shadow for the privileged opportunity to share this journey with them, and viscerally connect and see the world through their eyes. Thank you.